That's what I really am, and all I want to be. It may take some time, it may be hard to find, but see me beautiful.
You know, I love the heart of NVC, which can't hardly be described, right? I mean, it's a heart-opening system, the whole thing, with awareness and using the mindful tools to really be, you know, present with ourselves and present with other people and present with a circumstance that might be happening. And so all of that to me ties in with spirituality and the teachings of the main religions. And I was always thought, when I was 19, a freshman in college, I thought, oh, I'm going to write a book about eclectic religion. Like, what is, the word was going to, the title was going to have eclectic in it, because it was going to bring out all the things that all the religions were saying that was all the same. And so why have there be so many differences with religions when we could just study all the things that were the same? And so when I learned NVC, I thought, well, NVC is that. It's that eclectic religions all put in, you know, it's all that concept.
This rabbi that said when he got this book, this Marshall Rosenberg book, that he sensed that really behind it was lived Torah values. My sense is that's the spirituality that Marshall sometimes had a hard time talking about NVC as kind of a spiritual practice. But I think it taps into not just Judaism, but really the spiritual values of probably most religions.
I've been asked and asked myself, what is it about NVC that might separate it from many other paradigms that are trying to provide the same thing to people on the planet? You know, Marshall many times said when he offers this to people from a religious background, they say, oh, this is exactly what our religion teaches. But what is different in NVC is it provides a procedure to move from judgment, as the Bible says, judge not, but it doesn't tell you what to do when you catch yourself judging. And NVC does. It provides, you could say, a step-by-step procedure, a recipe of how to move from the state of judgment to the state of connection and love. I have a friend who is involved with one particular spiritual path, Yogananda Self-Realization Fellowship. And when she was introduced to NVC, she says, oh, this gives the hands and feet to the spiritual path I'm on. It gives me the wings, but this gives me the hands and the feet, allows me to live it on the ground and use it.
In Christianity, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, love your enemy. But there isn't anything in Christianity about how to do that. Jesus says, judge not. But there is no instruction about how do you not judge. St. Paul says, do not return evil for evil. Well, how do you not return evil for evil? That's a whole different thing. And Marshall shows a way to do that. When I am having this reaction to my wife about this, or my neighbor who is doing this, or somebody else who is doing that, how then in that interaction do I manifest love or manifest non-judgmentalness? That's with Christianity. Then when I go to Zen, they're fascinated with it. Because in a similar way, they have and I can't speak with authority on that, but just a little bit, because they have as their practice meditating, sitting zazen. But they also are fascinated because they have the same situation. They don't know how to speak to another person when they are angry or judgmental without being judgmental.
The story in the Garden of Eden says God told Adam and Eve not to eat of the tree of knowledge. At least that's the way I had heard it when I was a child. But actually says not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that's really embedded in the NVC paradigm, how to stop eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden when they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And we've noticed that we do immediately. The minute I'm in that energy of what's wrong with that asshole or them, I'm immediately moved out of a state of joy and well-being. I'm kicked out of the garden instantly. And NVC provides a procedure for getting back in the garden.
It was in San Diego, in Annie Mueller's living room, that we had the 5-day intensive trainings. And she early on said to Marshall, "Why do you not talk about the spirituality that is a part of nonviolent communication?" And he said, "I don't want it mixed up with organized religion. And there are a lot of New Age people coming to my workshops. And I think that would turn them off." And he was worried that the New Age people who came to his workshops, he didn't want the New Age people to think it was New Age. He wanted the spiritual integrity to be taken seriously.
I heard him once saying that religion and spirituality had been used to oppress people. So that's why he was careful about talking about NVC as a spiritual practice.
I also remember there was a other player in that group, her husband, Martin Muller, that some people considered an enlightened master of sorts. And he met Marshall. I wasn't there, but Annie told me when after Martin spoke with Marshall, that Martin came to her and said, "Why does he hide that he's a spiritual messenger?" And based on that, according to my conversations with Annie, she raised that issue with Marshall, and he explained, he was afraid it would alienate the people he wanted to reach if he spoke in the language of spiritualism. But after that, he began speaking quite a bit about the spiritual basis of NVC. So she had a profound effect on what his path and what NVC is manifested as today.
When Annie Mueller talked about spirituality, he felt freer to talk about it. He talked about divine energy. And I think of it as God holding my heart in his hand. It was the African American people that first saw the spirituality in what he was offering. So that I saw the light go on in the oppressed peoples. I saw it with nuns because they were oppressed by the priests.
I can't say that I ever heard Marshall speak of NVC's spirituality, except for me, he spoke it very clearly. And that is because for me, it's all about energy. And this is what he used to talk about, was the energy. So when I speak of energy, I'm talking about what we exude. You can't taste it, you can't touch it. However, I do believe you can feel it and sense it. He talked a lot about silent empathy. And that to me is because when we offer somebody our caring and have the intent for connect, that heart energy, that compassionate energy just flows through us. It comes out of our eyes, comes out of our body language. I think there's an evidence that is nonverbal.
That spirituality that came out of Marshall's process somehow spoke to my heart. It was not about understanding what is going on in another person and trying to find a solution. It was about first and almost only create a pathway for connection between a you and a me, whoever that me and whoever that you is. Or it can be us and you. And I really, really loved that quality of creating not a them and us, but a we that includes them and us. And that is what I think is making a big difference in many other things that I know. That it's not about the psychology, it's not about worldviews, it's not about whatever religion we have. It is about being here, now, and the only interest is how can I connect at the level of heart and the level of also mind. But the heart is first. That is so unique. And it's so simple, for God's sake. But it's, as I have noticed, it's not at all simple because I have to unlearn something before I can learn again. But I can use what I have learned too. I don't have to let it behind. I can integrate it. But I had to learn to be present. I know the Buddhists will say, well, but it was my path to begin present.
I want to live compassionately at each and every opportunity. I want to give away the love that's mine to give. I want to live compassionately.